Where I'm at right now on these two Yellowstone Park stagecoaches is trying to incorporate this back curve that completes the body and incorporates the rear seat. I have the old one here, and if you remember here a couple weeks ago, I did some bending of this 2-inch thick, 3-inch wide ash. I'm going to split it in half, and that's going to become the rear frame for that back seat. So I had made this pattern, kind of a template, to make sure I got my bend fairly close, but hidden underneath this iron is the rest of this frame, and it continues to taper down. And this iron is what goes up to the top. This has a Surrey style top, and I need to get this iron off so I can actually get the measurement of what that frame is at this point up here. It's kind of hidden, so it continually tapers on down. I made this one at 1.5 inches just to kind of give me a rough idea, but now I need to fine tune this. Hopefully I can get these off. I may have to grind the end of these bolts off. Oftentimes they've been hammered over and kind of flared to where they don't come loose. But now I need them to come loose. This is the heavy frame that I bent that we just looked at. Then I need some 1-inch wide that I bent that as well. This is just a filler piece, but these bolts are carriage bolts that go through this whole frame assembly. So they're fairly long bolts. So I'd just like to get any burrs off of these, maybe get them off without too much trouble. You can see they have the effect of just having been cut off with some bolt cutters. That's what we need to see. So we're tapered down to 1.125 inches at the top. Down here we're 1 3/8. So 1 3/8 down to 1 1/8 here. And that's where I need to adjust this pattern. So right here I need to be 1 1/8, and right here I need to be 1 3/8, tapering down and then down to the full 2 inches down here. So we actually have 4 framings here. This is the main heavy frame, and this will be a steam bent frame. I have those bent as well. This is a filler, and then this outer section here is also a filler. This is where the side arm comes in for the rear seat, and the panel will come down below that. Well, this piece here is a lap joint into this cross frame here. So this bent frame and this bent frame are jointed in. These other two here are just butt jointed into this cross frame across the back. So this is where I'm 1 3/8, and of course 1 1/8 up here. So I've just tried to put a continual curve into here. I split halfway through the middle, and I went 1 1/4 here, and just tried to blend those together to give me as much of a continual curve as I could. I'll just put this on my belt sander and bring it down to that mark. Yeah, that's going to really increase my margin of error here. I have plenty to deal with in my framework that I bent. This will be one side. This will be the other side. That's going to work well. I can fit that right in there. So I'm going to go ahead and split this. So back and forth, about a 30-second at a time, to where I now have nice flat surfaces. I am at 2 3/4 where we need to be. And remember these indentions here when I put those cross frames in there to try to make this top bend a little more. But when I put my pattern in there, you can see I'm going to be able to cut those out fairly comfortably. And the same on this one. Those indentations aren't going to be a problem at all. So this framework is going to sit in this position here. But you notice I have kind of a stair step in here. So this has to be jointed in accordingly to accommodate this, and this back curve I want to come up flush with this angle of this back frame. So when I made this pattern, I didn't make it for up here, but I made it for down here so that this back curve matches this angle here. Now my toe is a little bit short of coming up here, but I can accommodate that. But as I set it on the top, that's what it would look like. But when I joint that down, it should fit right here, and then this back panel fits right into this joint here. So as I fit this pattern on my bent piece, and it's going to fit right in here somewhere, I'm not going to concern myself quite yet with this angle. I'm going to cut myself a little long. In fact, I might not even deal with this at all yet. I'm just going to try to fit this in the width of my curve piece. And I'm going to adjust this either inside or outside, wherever I need it to be. I'm flush here and I'm flush here. And then I'm going to accommodate this pattern within those limitations. So I have a little room here to be extra long. I can fit that as I need to at the end. And I'll show you how that's going to work here in a bit. So the insides aren't real critical because that all gets covered up. But this outside, I would like them to be fairly consistent with one another. So I'll fine tune these two, but remember we have 3 more full 1-inch frames that have to go along with this. As I put my pattern back on here, you can see I can line these up and still have plenty extra on this top end. And down on this, what I call the toe, I can trim that off to make them the same. Like I say, I still have to do this joint work, so I'm long overall. That'll get those two main frames pretty close to paired up. So this is what I bent for the 3 1-inch frames. I bent them all in one piece, remember. I am at 3.5 and I need 3 1-inch pieces. So I've got a 1/2 inch to play with. I need to run it through the planer just enough to where I know I have parallel surfaces. Then I think I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Find that placement. Then I think I'll cut the whole thing out as one unit and then split it with my bandsaw a strong 1-inch so I can plane them down to where I can finish at 1 inch apiece. So finished planed down, I am at 3 3/8. So I can put my marks at 1 1/8 and should have enough to plane the kerf marks out to have a net 1 inch each. So my marks are just right at 1 1/8. I'm going to split this with the bandsaw, so I need to run that blade right down the center of that line to end up with 3 equal pieces and still have enough to plane my kerf. Well, that was totally unexpected. It just popped. I'm going to glue that back into place. Huh. I was surprised at that. Not that it's never happened before. But it's fixable. And it'll be just as strong when we finish. Who'd have thunk? When I'm trying to figure the exact position of this frame, there's a lot of variables involved here. The angle of this joint here and the overall length. So this iron here is actually going to help me figure that out. This comes to the top of the rear panel and then comes down to the seat frame that actually holds the base of that seat. So when I'm taking this wood and trying to fit it into the iron here becomes my measurement. So I need to take this iron off so I can use it for my overall measurement of where this frame goes. So this iron comes down to my seat frame of that rear seat, and then there's another iron that extends down and actually bolts to the main frame. So this continuing iron actually kind of triangulates this whole back assembly. So I need to take this off here as well. So this is where it comes down to the main frame, and it's interesting, this is bolted to the frame, but this bolt has been forged right into this joint, and this is where this extension iron continues down from. So these are the uprights to the rear seat, and I do have the cross frame made here as well, but I don't have it permanently installed yet. Nor do I have these glued permanently yet. And this is where that brace to the top of the back is going to fasten right in here. So the reason I made this out of a piece of plywood is I wanted something that was wide enough that I could actually kind of clamp it in place. So this iron is distorted, surprise, surprise, from being through a wreck or whatever, all this type of decay. Overall length is going to be correct, but I can adjust this angle here a little bit to play with the placement of this top here. And somehow I need to incorporate these two somehow to where they match up. And then this bottom brace that comes from the seat to the main frame actually is going to sit about like so. It's been bent and tweaked as well, but that's kind of how it's going to fit. So before I take the left side apart, I'm just going to make a mental note and actually a video note that this iron for the armrest on the rear seat sets inside this brace that goes from the top down to the main frame. I have other original Stagecoaches here of this style that I can go look at as well, but this is just a good reminder. So this was the right side I took off first. This was the left side that I just took off. And I thought this looked like it must have been forged in because I couldn't see anything there, but here I can see it's more of a plow bolt style. It's a countersunk head that attaches to this iron. So I guess first things first, I should run this through the sandblaster and I'd probably see that. So sandblasting did actually reveal that these are a countersunk type of a plow bolt. So that's good to know. And I also noticed some original color here. Now this is how it would have sit going down to the main frame. Well, underneath, evidently they had a run. So there was some extra thick paint there, and you can see that bright red color that this coach was painted. And I have seen an original Engels coach that has this bright color on it. It's in the museum in West Yellowstone. And old literature says that this is a carmine red, and this seems to show that it's to be true. Well, it should be functional again. That'll work. All the rest of them seem to be fine. I don't know what got into that one. So since I have so many variables on this old back, I'd like to eliminate a few of those. I took out these bolts that hold the iron to the top. And this is the shim. It's just stuck in there. So I'd like to see how close my form is. And this one is pretty complete. I can set it right in there. And when I look at this here, it comes below this surface, which is a good thing because this has to step down, remember? I'm a little short on the upper end as I have it laid right in there. It comes right up to this cross frame, so I need to be another inch or so longer on my form, which that's okay. But just laying it in place here, I'm really close to what that original one would have been. So I like that fit. I think the biggest thing is going to be having to adjust the angle here. I might have to bring it more down this direction, I think. And I'm thinking that because if I just put it on the angle that my foot is here, see this leans way too far forward, but if I were to adjust that angle, I could get it back closer to where it needs to be if I adjusted this. And this curve is going to be pretty close. I just need to find out where this needs to be, plus an inch, and I think we can use that iron to come up with that measurement. If I go back to our form here, I have a lot of room here to trim and adjust that. Plus I have plenty here for that extra inch or so. I have probably 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches there, so I think we're okay there. I just need to get the right angle. So before I start to do it with my framing that I actually want to use, that's kind of why I want to use this plywood form. I can make my adjustments here, try to get that dialed in, and then I'll take and transfer that to where it actually needs to be. See if that helps us. We're going the right direction. So I'd rather do this with a scrap piece pattern before I actually do it with the real thing. Still need to make another adjustment there yet and play with these irons. So I'm going to keep on playing with my template here and see if I can get that fitted up. Now these irons that I have that I'm using here for my measurement actually belong on that 11-passenger coach. I'm going to have to make duplicate irons for this, but I can take those irons to find out what that position is on both coaches. So the 8-passenger is out and easiest to get to, so that's the one I'm working with first. And once again, I wanted to say I appreciate all your support for the museum gift store across the street. Kathy has been getting orders filled and shipped, usually within that same day. If they come in late in the afternoon, they go out the next morning. So she's been able to keep up on that. I did talk to the hat gal, and she was supposed to have the patches in, I think she said Friday. So I'm waiting on any day that she's going to have those hats. Maybe by the time this video airs, they'll be in stock. So kind of check in on that store there if you're interested in the hats with the leather patch of Engels Coach on the front of it. So we're making some headway. This is kind of a fit the Chinese puzzle together to get everything just right. But we're going to make it there in the end. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.